This week on Q&A, a talk with participants in the Washington Journalism and Media Conference held on the campus of George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Aspiring journalists discuss ethics and morality in modern-day journalism.
Abigail Birch, tell me where you're from and why you're here in Washington, D.C. this week.
I am from Duluth, Minnesota, and I am in Washington, D.C. this week to be part of the Washington Media and Journalism Conference to learn more about writing, politics, media, and how it's used in our world today to broadcast and just all the things that you could learn about other people who have been successful with journalism to help us understand what we can do with our careers in the future if we go to college and do everything that we have been dreaming about to do, because it is possible.
So where do you go to school now?
I go to school at Marshall School in Duluth. It's the only private school in Duluth.
So why did you come to this particular conference? What got your attention and how did you know about it?
I don't know how I was nominated, but I received the letter of recommendation to sign up for this. It was about January or so, and I wanted to do this because I will be having a novel published in about 2 years, and I want to figure out if I'm doing everything I can to be the best writer that I can.
Who's going to publish your novel?
Little Brown Publishing Company.
Oh, that's big.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get that?
I've been writing since I was very little, and my English teacher found my notebook that had the first few chapters of my novel in it, read it, and said to me that this needs to be published, and he sent it to his friend, who is a small publisher, and he sent it to his associate, who is now my current agent.
And they've already accepted this novel and they're going to publish it?
Mm-hmm.
When?
When will it be published?
Yeah.
It will be published after I have 1 semester of creative writing classes in college.
Why are they waiting that long?
In case I have the need after I take classes that are in college to delete the whole thing and rewrite it.
What's it about?
It is about a young girl who is failing her journalism classes in college as a junior. And in order to bring her grades up, she takes on the forbidden project of interviewing the most important man in the country and ends up falling in love with him.
Wow. How old was she when she fell in love with him?
25.
How old was he?
30.
So he can't be president when he's 30.
Well, he's not president. It takes place in 2031. So we don't have presidents in that time.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. That's a spoiler of the future.
Thank you, Abigail. That's
Thank
a good
you.
start. We'll look forward to the novel. Little Brown's a big publishing company. All right, who else in this room wants to tell us some more about this conference and why you're here? Put your hand up. Matt's down here. Let me get the mic, Matt. I've got one right back here. I'll give it to you. Don't have to stand up. Where are you from?
I am from Green Top, Missouri, Schuyler County High School.
Why did you come to this?
I came here because I wanted to learn more about, my career, the career I want to go into, make contacts, and this way, with making contacts, I can get where I want to go in the future.
And where is that?
I want to be a sports broadcaster, behind the scenes mostly, behind the camera, and I want to be maybe a production assistant or a producer or director of maybe working at ESPN or something of that sort.
Why do you want to work possibly at ESPN?
I love sports and I love to be around sports. Sports pretty much is so interesting to me because I love to watch the action happen, and I love when action unfolds right in front of me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This group I know is from 35 different states, all seniors in high school. We have somebody here from Guam. Who else wants to talk about this conference and what it's about and why you're here? If you give that young lady there in the back an opportunity to take the microphone, and please stand and tell us who you are and where you're from.
I can't really stand. I'm in a wheelchair, so.
Stay right where you are then.
I'm Brianna Correa from Marlborough, Massachusetts. I attend Aspet Valley Regional Technical High School. And at the conference, what I've learned so far is that you have to strive for what you can do and what you want to do, and to make connections now and
What's your dream? Where you want to go?
I want to be a photojournalist, but I don't want to go to a different country. I want to stay in the United States and take local, more community-based photojournalism and go from there.
How much of that do you do now?
I am in a graphics program at my school. I go half school and half in a graphics program, and we use cameras every day.
Can we see your work on the web anywhere?
I have most of my work on my computer, but I have some on my personal blog on Tumblr, and you can look me up on there. I have a lot of my work on there, but I love it, and I'm getting a new camera this year, so I'm so excited, and I just can't wait to pursue more.
So tell those of us who don't know what Tumblr is, again,
It's just,
how to
it's a
find
blog.
it.
It's a blog.
And what is your name again?
Brianna Korea.
And so that would, all they have to do is look up your name on
Yes.
Tumblr and they can see some of your work.
Yes.
Who else? Somebody over here had their hand up. I don't know. Well, let's go over here because, go ahead, Jennifer. Give to anybody that's in range. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jordan Orris, representing Green Valley High School in Henderson, Nevada, closer to Las Vegas, actually. I've been so honored to attend this conference. We were all nominated in January by a teacher or someone who attended the conference in the past, and I feel like this opportunity has been absolutely wonderful as a way to get our voices heard, as a way to develop our skill set, as a way to learn how to develop our personal brand. We've had seminars on all of those things.
Why do you want your voices heard? Your voice heard?
Well, personally, I love journalism. I'm very interested in perhaps a political career, not my formal announcement by any means, but I'm very interested in something along those lines in the future representing the state of Nevada.
You like journalism or government more?
Oh, that's so difficult. And I think they're actually hand in hand right now. I feel that somebody who's in the government eye needs to have a journalism background, needs to have a communications background for that matter, needs to know how to effectively communicate with their constituents, needs to know how to effectively communicate their personal brand, as well as like their ideas for legislation and really getting their voices heard out in their district.
Who do you most admire in politics?
Oh my goodness gracious.
Name one so we can get a flavor here.
You know, I actually served in the Senate last summer, and I would have to say that I admired a lot of the senators that were up and coming, and I have my eye on a particular Republican candidate. I would have to say Representative Michelle Bachmann.
You like Michelle Bachmann?
I see her doing well in the future, and especially as a woman, she's someone to look up to.
Were you a page in the Senate?
I was.
Here in town?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who else? We got a hand up right over there. Yes, sir. What is your name?
Joe West, Corsicana, Texas. I was just going to say one of the reasons I came here was I got the nomination in January, but I've always liked journalism, mainly sports, though, and you know, I write for my city's newspaper and I work for the radio, and I just thought this would be like a really good opportunity to, you know, kind of broaden it, maybe learn some more. And I learned I was planning on majoring in like journalism, but I've learned through the past week that journalism might not actually be the best major to get into journalism.
Why not?
I don't know. I've heard that like 3 or 4 times this week from the different speakers. They didn't really detail it. I don't know.
Well, this is all about journalism, as you can see up there, the Washington Journalism and Media Conference. No, but I'm anxious to find out from some of the others here about journalism, and if you have an attitude about it. I have something here that I'm going to get you involved in a moment, but we have so many hands up. Let's just go ahead and this lady has something to say. Where are you from?
I'm Caitlin Danahy from Cartersville, Georgia. What he said about us being told that journalism may not be the best major to have, that was elaborated on to me that it's really better to find a major about, you know, something you're really passionate about so that you can specialize in that and you can really become known for, you know, knowing your details and knowing what you're talking about. And because, you know, anybody, what one of our speakers said to us was, you know, anybody can come up to you and say, you know, what's your name, what happened, write it down and put it in a paper. But for you to be able to, if you major in history, for you to be able to write about a certain event in another country and you know the history of that country and you know what's been going on, you're able to bring more detail and more interest to a story that way.
So after you go through this next school year, one year left in high school, where will you go to college?
I'm planning on applying to Mercer in Macon, Georgia, and to Flagler in St. Augustine, Florida.
And what will you major in?
I'm either looking to major in communications and maybe go into broadcast, or to major in history, because I've always really enjoyed learning about history.
Thanks. I have something I've always wanted to do this. It's a discussion I want to get into with you all on journalism. If you go down to the National Press Club, you go to the 13th floor. Have you been there? Okay. Let me ask you this. How many in this room, you were there yesterday, noticed the journalism creed that's right before you get on the elevator? You did. Did you read it? Yes. Okay, I've got it here, the words, and what I want to do is I want to read some of it and then get you to respond to the definition of journalism as it's on the wall there. It was written back in the early 1900s by a man that went on to be the president of the University of Missouri. Anybody here from Missouri? And he didn't even have a college degree, but he ran the journalism school there. And for whatever, I've never asked them at the press club why this is there on the wall, but they still have this up there on the wall as the definition. It's called the Journalism Creed. I'll read you just a little bit, and we can get the microphone to this young lady, then I'll get you to respond to this. But here's what it starts out saying. I believe in the profession of journalism. Here's the thing you want to think about is, where do you agree or disagree when you hear some of this? Now, this is written back in the 1900s, early in the 1900s. So think of it, no television, certainly no iPhones, no Twitter, Facebook, any of that stuff, no CDs, no Walkman for people my age. I believe in journalism. This is what the gentleman says. Walter Williams was his name. He's deceased. I believe that the public journal is a public trust, that all connected with it are, to the full measure of responsibility, trustees for the public, that all acceptance of lesser service than the public service is a betrayal of this trust. I believe that clear thinking, clear statement, accuracy and fairness are fundamental to good journalism. I believe that a journalist should write only what he holds in his heart to be true. That's just a start. There's more. Tell us who you are and what do you think of this?
I'm Jaya Cloutier. I'm from Portland, Maine. And I think most of those ideals still uphold, but things where, as the trust of, I don't remember the exact words, but when they're saying that it's the duty of journalists to bring the truth to the people, I feel like nowadays there's a lot of talk about how journalists are more focused on trying to get I'm sorry, can't think of the word, I can't think of the word. What is
you're
that
looking
word?
for trying to get their opinions out, or?
Not their opinions, but they're trying to find conflict in Washington and scandals and stuff.
But do you think back in these times they were trying to find conflict?
I think they probably were, but I think now it's been taken to it's more now instead of
Are you
just
sure it's
getting
more now?
out. I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't read the newspapers back then, obviously.
Really?
I mean, I know I look old like that, but...
Well, but there is a story about the Spanish-American War and how a newspaper man got us involved in that and was all, creating the drama and the excitement back in the 1898 period. Let me read some more of this and think about what this man is saying, what the journalist creed are, and whether or not the press club should have this up there now. And by the way, going back to you for just a second, why did you read that when you were standing there at the elevator?
I mean, it says the journalist creed, and I want to be a journalist, so, and also, like I said, the ideals are very good, I think.
Yeah, this was written actually in 1906 by Walter Williams. He also says, I believe that suppression of the news for any consideration other than the welfare of society is indefensible. And one of the things that you hear about today are people writing books, and they hold information for 9, 10, 12 months until the book comes out, and they work for major publications. And is that the right thing to do? Is that fair? If if this creed means anything, it says, I believe the suppression of the news for any consideration other than the welfare of society is indefensible. Who else wants to react to anything they're hearing here? Yes, over here, the lady in the back there with her hand up, the blonde lady with the ponytail. Sorry to have to define the way you look. Go ahead.
I'm Rachel Epley from Charlottesville, Virginia. What I've learned since I've been here even is that journalism is and always has been the art of telling, and of telling the story of current events, of past, of present, and then predicting the future. And I think that what that is saying is that it's the true meaning of journalism is to give the facts. And I think we are struggling right now in this modern time when there's Facebook and Twitter and opinions out the wazoo, and we're having trouble focusing on the facts and just giving the facts. And I think that that's the hardest thing.
So when you wake up in the morning, do you go to find out what's going on in the news?
I usually watch the Today Show.
And is that, in your opinion, where you're going to find the best journalism?
Not always, no.
So if you want the best journalism at the start of your day, where would you go?
If I'm looking for local stories, I'd go to the newspaper. If I was looking for national and international stories, I'd probably go to the New York Times website.
And what is your goal right now? Do you want to be a journalist?
I do. I'm really interested in international correspondent work, political correspondent. I haven't really decided.
Well, if you look around the world, are we now in a better position for somebody like you to find a job down the road, or are we in a worse position than say it was when I was your age?
In my opinion, we're in a much better place. I mean, the opportunities people have to travel and to we've heard so many stories from amazing people like Hoda and...
Tell everybody who Hoda is.
Hoda is, we all heard her speak yesterday. She's a journalist. She did a lot of work for NBC Now, but she does Dateline work, and she does correspondent. And I've really learned a lot from her as far as her stories about at the beginning of when she was learning to... when she was first a journalist, she got turned down 27 times, I think it was, before she finally got someone to give her a job. And I think that is such a perfect story of today, how we have opportunities that we can just go and find. There are so many different news places, and there are so many different websites and things that you can get involved in too.
Thank you. Let me read some more of this to see what you all think. This is the Journalist Creed, Walter Williams, 1906, tacked to the wall there at the National Press Club. I believe that no one should write as a journalist what he would not say as a gentleman. Does that tell you anything right there? This is what he wrote in 1906. That bribery by one's own pocketbook is as much to be avoided as bribery by the pocketbook of another. Think about that for a minute. Get a sense of what does that mean in this new world of television, radio, that individual responsibility may not be escaped by pleading another's instructions or another's dividends. What do you think of that business about pocketbook? Jennifer, the lady back there in the first row with obviously her hand up. If you all want to say anything down here, all you have to do is tell me. I've got a mic here. I can sneak it in. Your name and where are you from, please?
My name's Allison Saperman. I'm from Sanford, Florida.
What do you think of this thing I'm reading here about journalism and this business about as much to be avoided the bribery by the pocketbook of another, or the bribery of your own pocketbook?
I think it means that you need to be true as a reporter. You can't put false information out into the public. It's your job to bring the truth out to the American people, or if you're in another country, to the people. That's your job as a reporter.
What do you think of the journalists that you see today? Are any of them worried more about their own pocketbook than they are about the news and the truth?
From what I watch, not really. A lot of them put their opinions out there, which sometimes I think puts influence into other people's opinions a lot. But I don't really think that reporters get bribed all that much.
But what they're talking about, the own pocketbook, also sounds to me like it might be how much they're paid by their news organizations in order to do their job. There's some other hands up. Why don't you pass it off over there? And we've had one journalist in this country that made $15 million a year. What does that sound like to you? Would you rather have the money, the truth, or both?
Well, my name is Evan Petchke, and I'm from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And as an aspiring journalist, I am already preparing myself for the very small salary that I will be starting out with, because I know that I'm pretty sure everyone in this room knows journalists do not make a lot of money, especially when you're first starting out. So I think, most journalists should be aware of that. And there are some jobs that will make more money. And for the people that want that money, they need to find those other jobs. But if you want to be a journalist, you need to have a passion for what you do. It's the kind of job that isn't about the money. It's about, the work. It's about the truth and the facts and, being there for the people. And I think a lot of times, especially in our economy today with the struggling times that we are in, people get caught up in all that kind of stuff. But
where do you go for your news and information?
Well, my dream is to work in the New York Times, so I read the New York Times a lot. But I also read my local newspaper because that's a lot of the news affects me. So those two main papers.
And as you think about, are you going to college?
Yeah.
Do you know where yet?
Not yet. I'm going to be applying soon, so hopefully a big city.
What will you study?
I want to study international relations, perhaps a double major with journalism and international relations, or international relations and government and politics.
So at your age, what are you, 17, 18,
yeah.
17? What is your dream job right now?
My dream job is to be an international correspondent for the New York Times.
There aren't many slots left.
No, they're not, but
yes.
I can get one.
But there you go. How's that, huh? All right, here's another paragraph. We got two more paragraphs to go here. I believe that advertising, again, this is Walter Williams, 1906. I believe that advertising, news, and editorial columns should alike serve the best interests of readers. That a single standard of helpful truth and cleanness should prevail for all. That supreme test of good journalism is the measure of its public service. Now, you've been listening to a lot of people this week. We'll get the mic to you. Richard, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Sayla Stevens, and I'm from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And just expanding on, what some of the previous, speakers have said, that I believe that the most impactful journalism is journalism that's honest and, earnest. Like when Hoda was speaking to us the other day, she made a great impact on me. To be completely honest, I hadn't heard of her before, but when she came in, she instantly just, she commanded the room, and everyone was just silent, just like paying attention to her, because you could tell that she was coming from a really sincere place. She told how she had failed, 27 times, and it's not, an easy story to hear, because everyone, wants to graduate college and make all this money, but it's really, it's larger than the money that you make. It's about, being true to the art of journalism and reporting a true story.
Let me, though, ask you, I'll just be a doubting Thomas for a minute, just to ask you a couple questions. Why do you think she was telling you the truth? Why do you think she was sincere?
Because it's what makes the most impact. We've heard, the cliches, time and time again of, just, stick to, what you believe in, stay in school, and of course you'll make it. But, that's not always what holds true. She didn't go to a journalism school. She went to Virginia Tech. And, just working around problems or setbacks is really the only way to success.
Besides Hoda, who do you know that, or watch or read, that you admire?
I personally want to be a music journalist, so I read a lot of like Spin and Rolling Stone, and I admire their style of writing personally.
We go back, though, it's interesting, the definition of journalism here is that supreme test of good journalism is the measure of its public service. And she's talking about writing about music and all that. What about this public service thing? You think that has anything to do with journalism? Anybody? Back here in the back, Jennifer, right there. What do you think? Where are you from?
My name is Shannon Reagan. I'm from Vienna, Virginia. And I feel like the purpose of journalism is to tell the truth and to impact people.
Let me stop you there and ask you, though, how do you know what's the truth?
I think that you should be able to trust your journalists. And I think personally, if I believe that what I'm reading is the truth and later I hear that it's not the truth, then I lose all respect for that reporter. And I think a person's integrity is, in journalism, the most important aspect of their career.
Lately in television, a number of places have become very opinionated. You know when you go to these channels that they're going to be on a side, usually. They may have people from other sides there, but by and large, they're on a side. I won't name them because everybody gets all upset when you try to characterize what any of these channels do. Is that good or bad for us?
I don't think it's a good thing. I believe opinion is good, but only when it's strictly written as opinion, like the opinion section in the newspaper, for example. I think it's interesting to read editorials and it's nice to hear other people's opinions, but I think the importance of journalism is to hear what's happening in the world and the truth. And there's no other place that people are going to get that information besides from journalists. So that's our responsibility to the people.
But the most successful network in the United States, cable network, makes more money than anybody else, has a very strong opinionated base to it. They may disagree with that, but I think most people, when they're not in front of a microphone, they will agree with that. But what do you think of that? Is that they found out they can make money, lots of money, being opinionated?
Well, yesterday we heard a speaker called Jonathan Martin, and he mentioned something. He said something about should we tell the people what they want to hear or what they need to hear? And I think in that case, it's kind of using people and not sure how to phrase that, but it's manipulating people, I guess, an audience to play on their emotions by using a very strong opinion to try and get them to agree with you. And I think that we need to give citizens the truth, and we need to tell them the information that they need to know, regardless of whether it's what they want to hear or not.
I think the word I hear from all of you is truth, and we go back to this thing about the supreme test of good journalism is the measure of its public service, as long as we're right here with the microphone. What about this public service thing? Mr. Williams thinks that's important. Would that be why you went into journalism?
I'm Caitlin Peel, and I'm from Stone Mountain. It's not
where are you from?
Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Good. Wait, that first name again?
Caitlin Peel.
Caitlin. What do you think? Public service?
Public service is a big part of it. Journalism has been described as the fourth branch of government, and I think that's good because the government was set up by the people and for the people, and journalists are people, and we write for people, and it gets the truth out. And I think a republic cannot exist without journalism.
So it's not a business. It's really a fourth branch of government.
In a way, it's a service.
Do you want it to be a part of government?
No. I think journalism is such a broad spectrum, from entertainment to, the politics. There's, you can change a channel and when people are talking about the elections in 2012, and then you go to another channel and they're talking about what Angelina Jolie wore today. So,
now, where would you go right now if you want to know what's going on in the world?
Probably CNN.
Why?
I find that what they put out is the most truth, and I have a lot of respect for them.
How do you know they're truthful?
You just have to go with your instinct and what your gut feels. You can't know for sure. You're not on the front lines with them, but you just have to trust them.
Anybody down here want the microphone? Huh? Matt, we got to go somebody else here. Who wants the microphone? You got it. Yeah, come on. Tell us what you're thinking. I know. Here's a Missourian, a Missouri fellow. You going to go to the University of Missouri and study journalism?
Yes, I am.
What do you think of my friend here, Mr. Williams?
He's amazing. He, University of Missouri is the best journalism school in the nation. No doubt about that.
No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry about that, guys. But it really is because there's KOMU. You have the student-run news station, and you get firsthand experience before, and like you are ahead of the game. And
Sean, did you tell us your name? Give us your full name.
Okay, my name is Sean Barnhill. So.
And you're from where?
Branson, Missouri.
Branson?
Yes.
It's a famous name in America.
Yes, very.
All right, what about Mr. Williams here? He used to be the dean of the journalism school.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about all this thing about public service and shouldn't be feeding money into your own pocket, and public journal, public trust, truth, accuracy, fairness. Do we get that today?
I'm not going to name the network, but one network, I do not trust at all. they're so, they're so biased, and it's like, all networks are, but, this one especially, it's,
well,
they
let me play the devil's advocate. Maybe, isn't it better that you know what their bias is instead of them slipping it in on you?
Yeah, I guess.
But are you politically not on their side?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not that. It's just how they cover the news. Like, I don't know, like, yeah.
The news that they cover or the opinions that they give? Can you sift through the difference? How do you get your news?
I go to CNN. CNN local news.
So you're happy with CNN?
Yes. And as she said, you really don't know if they're telling the truth, but it's like you just have to, go with your instinct.
Let's get a wide shot of this room because I want to have you show your hands. If you had to choose in here, I'm going to ask you which network you would go to. Thanks, Sean. How many of you would tune to CNN if you want to get the news? Okay. How many of you would tune to Fox News? All right. And how many of you would tune in to MSNBC? Anybody else would go to another place? You go to the BBC. Everything. Hold on. Let's get a microphone to you. Richard, tell us your name and where you're from.
I'm Jess Hampshire, and I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I would turn to BBC for my news. I feel like when BBC talks about things, they just kind of give it to you straight. And you can't really tell if they have bias. Maybe it's the accent, maybe it's just everything sounds the same. But to me, I just get my news, it's straight. It's, and BBC comes on in the morning, we'll watch it before I go to school. My stepdad will have it on. We're about to head out to go to school. I catch what's going on in the world, and I'm out the door.
Have you ever seen Jeremy Paxson?
Probably. I don't recall the name. I don't really watch it. Like I just
I
listen.
don't know Mr. Paxson. He's a tall. It looks like he's a tall guy, but there's nobody I've ever seen on television that's more in your face than Jeremy Paxson.
I don't like watch it. I listen. Like you know what I mean?
Listen to the World Service?
Yes. So I just kind of like it's in the morning. I just turn it on. I listen.
How do you know? How do you know they're telling you the real thing?
I feel like it's just, and there's a difference between truth and fact to me. Something that is the truth isn't necessarily fact, but fact is truth.
How do you know, though, if you're listening to the BBC?
You can never be sure.
Never.
Unless you go and talk to the people that they're interviewing, you can never be sure.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
I really would love to be into politics.
So you don't want to be in journalism?
I love journalism.
Who do you idolize in politics, or do you idolize anybody in politics?
I don't idolize anybody. I respect people.
Name one.
Our representative, Charles Bustani. I really, I feel like he's doing really well for our community. And he works for the people, and he doesn't necessarily work to be reelected. And because he works for the people, he keeps getting reelected. Do
you think there are any of these representatives here that do not work for the people?
I feel like some of them might have another agenda that they wouldn't necessarily.
What would that be, though?
Just an agenda maybe for themselves that they, feel. I'm not sure. I don't know personally. Like I don't go ask.
But if you have an agenda that you don't feel and you're for yourself in this, why do they get reelected?
Good campaigning. I mean, there's some in office that I don't agree with, and I feel like they have an alternate agenda besides working for their people. So.
Who else has their hand up? Back there, yes. Jennifer, you can get that mic in your hand.
I'm Gabrielle Reccio from New Windsor, New York. I'd just like to go back to what you were saying before, how is it a good thing or a bad thing that a lot of news stations are becoming more opinionated. I believe that is a good thing because some people, they'll watch it and they know, oh, this isn't what I believe. And if they don't agree with it, they can go watch a news station that they do agree with their views. That way, you don't have the problem of getting mixed up and then people don't sometimes know what to think.
When you ever go into a bookstore?
Yes.
If you go into a big bookstore, a Borders or Barnes & Noble or an independent store, there's some 120,000 titles in there. Do you ever go in and say, why are all these books biased?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you're
Well,
saying.
I'm relating it to television. Everybody worries and fusses over bias on television, but when you go into a bookstore, you don't stand there and say, isn't it a shame that all those people up there have opinions?
Well, they're books. You can sift through what you want to read and what you don't want to read. You don't have to read something that you don't agree with.
Why isn't that the same with television? All the choice you have today, if you don't want to watch something, you can change the channel.
Well, sometimes I feel like, well, you can pick up a book and you know what it's about. But you watch a TV show and there's so much going on and people saying a lot of different things that messages get mixed up. And I think that's a lot of the problem today is that people don't really know what they're listening to, what they're watching.
But do you think you know more about somebody that's written a book than you do somebody that's given their opinion on television?
You can, well, personally, I think you can clearly make out what someone's trying to say and what they're trying to get across in writing than on television.
So should there
I think
be a
writing
different,
is more clear cut.
Should there be a different standard for television, radio, and newspapers? On what's truth, what's journalism?
I don't really know. Honestly.
Who else hasn't? I see we have a few hands up. Why don't you just pass it behind you there, as long as we're over on this side, and then we'll come back over here. Yes.
My name is Mary Grace Dickerson, and I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I just wanted to piggyback on what she said, but I don't have the same opinion. I feel that editorials do have their place, but it compromises the integrity and the facts in the news, and it's very difficult when every station is opinionated to get the facts. Because I know I personally only really watch one station, and if I go to watch another station, I change it really quickly because I don't agree with what they're saying. Or
what station do you watch?
I watch Fox personally, but.
And why is it that I suspect that this gentleman down here doesn't like Fox. Yeah, he's nodding up and down. But why is it that you like them?
I'm socially conservative and pretty fiscally conservative also, but I just feel.
You think they're giving you the conservative view?
Yes, sir. I don't know, but I don't agree with bias in the media, but I like.
You don't, but you.
But I watch. I don't because there's nothing else to watch, I guess.
Why don't you agree with bias in the media? Where do you know? Where can you find no bias in the media?
You can't. Well, personally, I've never found it,
So if you don't agree with bias in the media, and you've never found a place that there's not bias in the media, what difference does it make?
Oh, I just think that there should be a place where you can go to just get the who, what, when, where, why, how, just the facts.
So are you willing to take the time to read the speech, watch the speech in its entirety?
Sure.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
How often?
As often as it takes for me to learn the facts.
Aren't you busy?
Yeah, but with the internet, there's so many easy ways to, there's definitely easier ways than you can YouTube and you can fast forward, I guess.
So you don't really want the whole thing. I'm confused. Let's ask this young lady down here. What's your name?
My name is Grace Barkoff, and I'm from Clifton Park, New York.
What are you thinking?
I think that bias in the media has become so popular because it's easier. If you just give people the facts, then they have to think about it themselves, and they don't have time, they're too lazy. So if you tell people what to think, then they just listen to you and they believe it.
So what do you do when you want the news? Just the news?
I haven't found it either yet.
Think you will?
Maybe in the future. I think that's why we're all here, to learn how to be better journalists. So maybe some of us will learn from this experience and grow up to be unbiased journalists.
What do you think of what I've been reading here? Is that definition of journalism?
I think it's very idealistic and that it's something we should strive to do but haven't achieved.
Thank you. I've got one more. I'll be right to you. Don't hold on here. I got one more paragraph. And there is something in this paragraph that I really would like. You'll hear it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I want your reaction to it, and especially in today's atmosphere. See if you can figure out what it is. First hand that goes up to tell me what it is, I'll go to you. Did you read this before? Okay. I believe that the journalism which succeeds the best and best deserves success fears God and honors man, is stoutly independent, unmoved by pride of opinion or greed of power, constructive, tolerant but never careless, self-controlled, patient, always respectful of its readers, but always unafraid, is quickly indignant at injustice, is unswayed by the appeal of the privilege or the glamour of the mob, seeks to give every man a chance, and as far as law, an honest wage and recognition of human brotherhood can make it so. This is an awfully long lead on anything a journalist would write. An equal chance, is profoundly patriotic while sincerely promoting international goodwill and cementing world comradeship, is a journalism of humanity of and for today's world. Who thinks they heard in here something that might have surprised them? This gentleman here. What did I do with the mic? There he is. Let me hand it to him over here. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Patrick Wright, and I'm from Broken Bow, Nebraska. And the word that popped into my head when I heard that was discipline. To be a good journalist, you've got to be disciplined enough to really put aside your bias and report the facts, the truth, what is really real, per se.
What do you want to do in your life? Where are you going?
I want to be a journalist, and I want to kind of work with social media too and communications like that. I feel it's really opening up the world and allowing us to share stories more than we ever could before.
So you don't want to go through all these filters out there?
Not entirely, because with the social media, it's more factual and true, and you get it sooner.
Social media is more factual and true. How do you know?
Because it's real people telling real facts.
Why do real people tell real facts and journalists don't?
They don't always have as many people watching them. There's not as many people that will criticize them for whatever they say, trying to put them down. So some people, they can just say whatever they want, and it's not a problem for them.
All right, now go back to this paragraph. Somebody have an opinion on this paragraph that we've not talked to you yet, have we? Right there. What did you hear here that struck you as might be controversial today?
Well, first of all, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie. What's your last name?
Rust.
Where are you from?
Freedom, New Jersey. And what struck me most about this paragraph was the fact that it said that it would be, the media would be not influenced by any outside opinion or any personal opinions, but today's media is, or swayed by the mob. There was another part in that said it would be swayed by the mob. Today's media is swayed, and it is, people bribe and they twist things, but
how do you know?
What?
How do you know?
Because there is a lot out there that...
Let me ask you this way. What's your sense of ideal good journalism? What one institution would you say has the best journalism, as defined here or as you would define it?
The way that I would define best journalism is to put the facts first and then put your opinion later. Like, if someone wanted to hear the straight facts, they could hear it. And if they don't want to hear your opinion, they don't have to hear it.
But a newspaper,
but they could hear it.
Yeah, a newspaper would tell you that their facts are on their front page and their opinions on their editorial page. Right. Do you believe that? Is that right?
That's right.
You're right. You have a favorite newspaper?
I like the Post, the Washington Post.
Washington Post, okay. But by the way, you haven't gotten to the thing that I thought might trigger your interest from this. Who else has, let's get somebody who hasn't spoken right back here. Jennifer, right here. Yeah. I'd be interested in it because I know that if in today's world, if there were actual journalists in the room that were working in the profession, there's something in here that they might quarrel with.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sherman. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I think bias is truly human. We all have very, very specific opinions about everything, just as you can see in this room. And if you're writing a story just facts, it's completely unemotional. And the reason why people love Fox News and like movies so much is because it's an experience. It's emotional, it's love, and it's hate. And when you see just like an article with facts, it's drier, and that's why so many newspapers are failing, because
they're just giving you the facts, ma'am.
Right, and the journalism I consider like the best journalism. Like, I want to be a photojournalist, and I want to work with National Geographic, ideally.
Not bad. It's not a bad goal.
Yeah, it's like the journalism I read in there is completely an experience. It's a story, and it's completely human, and what people want to hear is like love and they want to hear compassion. They want to hear stories of people getting saved or people getting hurt because that's what people can relate to. And of course, you want media that gives you the truth, but you can only find truth through, you know, stories.
Anybody thank you. Anybody else figure out what I was citing? As long as we have, go ahead, Richard, give somebody right there, that young lady, right here, lady in the polka dots or whatever that is. Hi.
Hi, I'm McGuire McManus. I'm from Frisco, Texas. And what I think people would quarrel with now is it said something about not fearing God. And I think because...
That, by the way, is what I was...
Yeah, because that's what people
interested in hearing
like
about.
she was saying, people want to hear stories about love. People want to hear stories that are moving. However, in journalism, if we want to report just the facts, you can't fear God. You have to keep all emotions outside of it.
Do you think... I mean, this man went on to be the president of the University of Missouri. He was the dean of the journalism school, started all that, and then wrote this creed, and they put it on the wall in the National Press Club a few years ago. Do you think if the press club got together and said, we need a new definition of journalism, that line would make it? In other words, let me read it again. I believe that the journalism which succeeds the best, and the best deserves success, fears God and honors man. How do you think that would read today? What would they put in place of those words?
I feel like...
Would you fear anybody?
Not really, because...
Would you honor man?
Honor man's opinion. That today...
But what about the word man? Do you think of any chance that would get into something like this?
Probably not.
Why not?
I don't know, because...
Well, one of the reasons I must tell you is this room is full of probably 150 journalism students, and maybe 1 out of 15 is a man. And if you'd have been in this room in my time, 1 out of 15 would have been a woman. That's one of the things that's changed.
Maybe in terms of the actual word man, would you replace it with person?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I didn't think of it as honors man, as in I thought it was like mankind. I didn't think of man as the...
Who else? We got people all the way in the back. That anybody down here in the front, I've got a mic. I'm going to give it to this young lady right here. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Michaela Werla from Prescott, Arizona. And when you described that paragraph, the one thing I thought about is what real journalism is meant to be, which is passion. And you have to have the passion to go forward with the hard stories that people don't want to hear. And you have to have the passion to strive above everything else and be the best. So
is passion more important than truth?
I believe that you can have both. You can be a passionate person, you can be a truthful person, but as long as you're doing your job and doing what you're supposed to be, then it's a hard way to describe it.
What's the process of thinking? Let me though ask you this, as long as you're on your feet. This line, what I'm really interested in is today, if you as a group had to write a definition of journalism, would you put the word God in a definition of journalism?
I would. I mean, personally.
Well, hold it right there. Let's find out in this room. How many of you in this room, I want you to put your hands up very high, would keep the word and the mention of God in a definition of journalism? Put your hands way up. How many would not? I want to ask, why don't you pass the mic to this young lady. Stand up, tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Allison Mann. I'm from Orange County, California.
Why would you not put that reference to God in there?
I personally don't I don't believe that fully that God should take a part in what we write in the newspaper or in print or report.
What's changed since 1906, 100 years later, that you think you wouldn't do this? Let's hold on a second. We'll give the mic to that young lady there who can tell us. You're all young. I should drop the word young, I guess.
Hi, I'm Katie Tolbert. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's because the mention of God or religion can offend several people. And I think that's why journalism is so controversial these days, because people are so worried about offending other people through what they say that sometimes like they kind of censor what they put out, which is why we're kind of like struggling whether it's the truth or not, because not everything is going out.
Yeah, we're running out of time, and I want to make sure we get to as many people as possible that had their hands up. So Richard, find somebody back there very quickly. And I also want the audience to know, our audience that are watching at home, that they can get this journalist creed on the internet. This is something you couldn't do years ago. And all they have to do is type in Walter Williams and Journalist Creed, and it comes up there. You can get it easy, and there's also some information on him. And you can ask yourself the same questions on how much of this you would believe. Yes, ma'am, where are you from?
I'm Mariah Felder from Chesapeake, Virginia. I think journalism in its purest form is telling the truth, and it's telling the truth, straight facts. And I think all journalists should, I think in its purest form, journalists should say, come what may, I'm going to tell the truth and straight facts, and let people make their own opinions and decide what they believe and what they don't believe for themselves.
When do you trust a journalistic institution? Can you name it?
I think you really have to go with your gut and listen to different networks and different sources and say, I think this source has a little bit more opinion than this source, and kind of judge it for yourself. And you have to choose, and each person has to choose which network or which institution or which source they're going to believe for themselves.
Please turn around and hand the mic to the lady behind you so that we can get as many people quickly involved in this. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Anna Bruner, and I'm from Somerset, Pennsylvania. And I guess what stood out most to me in the paragraph was the word respect, and it's the duty of the journalist to pay a story the respect it deserves. And by all means, like, don't leave opinion out, but don't overly glamorize it or completely denounce whatever you're reporting on. And
wouldn't Walter Williams love to know we're talking about him almost 100 years later, and his creed, it's still on the wall at the National Press Club. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Laura Scar. I'm from Geneva, Illinois. And what I noticed was we're talking a lot about truth here, and people are saying how they will believe whatever network they think agrees most with their views. But really, truth isn't always what you agree with. And if you really want to find what is really the truth, you need to listen to people with different opinions as well as people with your own opinion.
How much of that do you do?
I try to do it as much as I can. I mean, I listen to news from different stations even if I don't really agree with kind of the opinion that they do have, because maybe they're right and maybe I'm not.
If I saw you 10 years from now, what would you be doing?
Ideally, international journalism of some kind. I'm also interested in like the different platforms of social media journalism, like a couple other people have said, because I know that's going to be really growing in the next couple of years. So.
All right, let's get a mic to somebody else. Anybody got the mic? Right over, yeah, please hand it so we can. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to get as many as possible. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Katie Greenberg from Clifton Park, New York. To go back to what you were talking about God in the paragraph that was in the creed, I don't think God should be mentioned in journalism. I personally grew up in a household where God was a sensitive subject because my parents had different views on God, and I think that in today's society, religion and God in general has changed a lot from when the creed was written. And I don't think that you need to include God, because journalism it reaches everybody, and everybody has a different opinion.
But he's basically saying fear God as you do your work.
I don't think that you should put that in there, because I don't think that you necessarily have to believe in God to be a journalist. So if you're saying fear God, to some people that doesn't mean anything. I'm not saying that's how I feel, but to some people who don't believe in God, you're saying fear God, and that doesn't mean anything. So it's not an accurate representation of all journalists.
My name is Rosita Cox. I'm from Kinston, North Carolina. And I believe good journalism, you must have the passion for it. And after the passion, the truth comes. Opinion isn't necessarily required to make a good story. I heard someone say that if the story's watered down with just facts, it's kind of boring. But you have to be a journalist, you have to know how to put your words in a way of just facts so that the public can form their opinion on your writing. And that's where the passion comes from, and that's how the truth follows.
What are you going to do in 10 years?
I want to travel the world and tell stories. Like, I believe that journalism is giving a voice to those who have been silenced. The news is probably the way to build up to get there, so I would probably major in like broadcast journalism, but that's what I really wanted to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Johnson. I really believe that journalists are driven by like the desire to share experiences with the public, not only with facts but opinions. Our opinions kind of give a human aspect to the whole nature of journalism. And in relation to the whole idea of putting God into the definition of journalism, I mean, we have freedom of religion, and it can be seen as a little bit disrespectful to certain groups of people who have to face journalism and read certain pieces of news, but yet also have to hear opinions that are so opinionated with the idea of God.
Thank you. Last comment.
Hi, I'm Danielle Olson from Huntington Beach, California. And after listening to this document, I just, like you said, it was written 100 years ago, and so many things have changed within 100 years. Like you said, the fear of God and man and stuff, like about the whole religion thing. Like everyone has a different opinion on religion, and then like most of this conference is women. And I think having an opinion and being biased is actually really important, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, like, state the facts, but I feel like if it was just the facts, everything would be the same, you know, like every paper would seem the same. I think that like having different opinions and like different people like put their own flavor into like what they're writing, I think it like opens up a new like way of thinking for yourself. Like you can take like most of like kind of the gist of the story and you can make a judgment for yourself, but I think it's really interesting to listen to other people's like opinions and then kind of like look at it from their perspective.
Thank you. That went pretty fast, didn't it? This is Andrew Flagle's dream, the Dean of Admissions at George Mason University, to have you all here. This is the third year of all this, the Washington Journalism and Media Conference. Why don't you give yourself a big hand and we'll say goodbye.
For a DVD copy of this program, call 1-877-662-7726. For free transcripts or to give us your comments about this program, visit us at qna.org. Q&A programs are also available as C-SPAN podcasts.